This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. There is a lot of polarizing characters in anime. I genuinely believe one of the things that anime does best is being able to drag the gray line between what is a good character and what is a bad character. And by good and bad, I don't mean well written or critically loved. I mean traditionally good, as in a protagonist, and traditionally bad, as in an antagonist. And wow, this has been happening for years in anime. Look at Light from Death Note, Lelouch from Code Geass. There truly is one person who is a step above when it comes to walking this gray area. At least from a critical reception side. It's not so gray to me. The person everybody loves to argue about nowadays, and the person that this video is about, is Eren Yeager. You see, Eren is the main character of Attack on Titan, and therefore has been the protagonist of Attack on Titan for many a season. However, recent events in the anime and relatively old events in the manga have made it seem as though he's more of an antagonist than a protagonist. And this has spurned a lot of conversation around Eren as a character, and I believe that this conversation is usually pretty misinformed. You see, the way you're supposed to feel about Eren is relatively cut and dry, and the fact that there's people on both sides of the argument about whether or not Eren is evil or good leads me to believe that a lot of people are misinformed about the show. Well, more importantly, misinformed about Eren's character arc. And as your resident anime encyclopedia, I believe it's important for me to clear some things up. Now, mind you, I have an opinion about Eren, and you could identify that opinion as bias, but I genuinely believe that the information we've been given from the anime and the ending of the manga, which I will not spoil, points in the direction that my bias is actually the correct one. Before I get to explaining anything, biased or not, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And while you guys are clicking things, go ahead and follow my other two YouTube pages, NC Gamer 23, where instead of talking anime, I play video games, and Hammer's Collection, where instead of talking anime, I unbox things from it. Before we get into all that, guys, today we have our favorite reoccurring sponsor sponsoring today's video, Sakura Co. and Tokyo Treat. But we can only talk about one of these boxes at a time, so we're gonna open with Tokyo Treat. Tokyo Treat is a monthly subscription box for Japanese snacks. And not just any kind of Japanese snacks, the kind of Japanese snacks that an average Japanese household will be eating right about now. You see, because every month's box has a theme, and this month is Sugoi Summer. You see, it being August, that means it's summer vacation in Japan right now, which means that this box is themed with a bunch of summer themed snacks. But here's the thing about Japanese treats, a lot of them are labeled in Japanese. And I can't read this, and I'm assuming the majority of you can't read this. But that's nothing to worry about, because we have a 24-page pamphlet that tells us everything we need to know about this snack, from its allergens to its backstory. So from this pamphlet, I've learned that this is a morning menu banana castella, which is a banana sponge cake filled with red bean, meant to be eaten in the morning. And it's 10:30 and I haven't eaten yet, so let's go. It smells like banana and it smells really good. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how spongy it still is. And the red bean in there gives a nice little cut of sweetness to the sponginess of the cake. But enough about Tokyo Treat, we got a whole other box to talk about, Sakura Co. Now, Sakura Co is also a Japanese monthly subscription box, but it's different from Tokyo Treat. While Tokyo Treat focuses on what's new and contemporary, Sakura Co focuses on what's authentic and traditional. All of the snacks that you'll receive in Sakura Co are handmade by Japanese artisans, and are meant to reflect how Japanese people have snacked for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But just like with Tokyo Treat, every month has a theme, and this theme is Okinawa Retreat. On top of snacks, Sakura Co sends one kitchen object per box. This month's is chopsticks. But since we're talking about an Okinawa retreat, let's go ahead and treat ourselves to a little something here. Just like with the Tokyo Treat, I wouldn't know what this was if not for our pamphlet. Fortunately, our pamphlet tells us that these are Tanafukaru brown sugar cookies. They look a bit like a donut hole to me, but let's see if they taste the same. Not at all. A complex and rich flavor, incredibly dense. Oh my God, it's delicious. So what are you guys waiting for? Use code NCHammer at checkout today to get $5 off your first order of either Tokyo Treat or Sakura Co. But guys, don't just go type in Sakura Co or Tokyo Treat into your search bars. Use the link in either my description or my pinned comment to get access today. Let's get to snacking. So typically with You Know Nothing series about certain characters, I just talk about their history and their backstory and what propels them through the story. However, I've never done a You Know Nothing for a main character, or generally for a character who doesn't appear outside of the main source material. You see, for things like Danzo and Kakuzo and Itachi, I can talk about their light novels and the data books and other ways that these people appear throughout our source material that you may not know of. Unfortunately, that's not really the situation with Eren. Attack on Titan is Eren's story. So to talk about Eren and to talk about who he is as a character, we're gonna have to talk a lot of Attack on Titan plot. So let's start these videos in the way that we tend to start these videos, at the beginning. You see, the beginning is variable for Eren. You could start the story at the beginning of his life or the beginning of his true life. You see, since Eren inherits the Founding Titan, he can technically see the past and the present simultaneously in real time. Every single panel of history is available to him. Now, usually this would only be available to people with royal blood, like Zeke. However, Eren broke the rules of the Founding Titan, so now we can slide across timelines just like that. So technically, if you think about it in a quantum physicsy way, Eren's life started long before he was born, because Eren's impact started long before he was born. But that's confusing narratively, so we're gonna start in a traditional timeline kind of way. Eren is born in the Shiganshina district, which is one of my least favorite words, so I'm sorry if I mess it up. The Shiganshina district is in the southern part of Wall Maria, and he was born to parents Carla and Grisha Jaeger. You see, from the jump, Eren was gonna have a very interesting life, considering who his parents were. Carla Jaeger was a perfectly regular citizen of Paradise. Her ancestors were Eldians who had been shuffled to Paradise Island by King Fritz 100 or so years ago. And just like every other Eldian who was brought to Paradise Island, her ancestors' memories were wiped using the power of the Founding Titan. Because the power of the Founding Titan allows complete control over the memories and basically mental states of every single Eldian. Because every Eldian has Ymir's blood. Ymir was the original Founding Titan, just in case you forgot. I have a whole video about her. Go watch it. Back to Grisha. Grisha was a key player in the Eldian restorationist movement in Marley. So much so he was actually sent to Paradise Island by the Eldian restorationists to acquire the power of the Founding Titan. And to do this, he was given the power of the Attack Titan in a roundabout way, but he got it. And through will and wit, eventually Grisha found his way into the Rhys family compound. Rhys family being the real royal family of Paradise Island. But Grisha didn't want to kill the entire Rhys family. There was children there. In fact, Grisha pleaded with the Rhys family to use their Founding Titan ability to stop the walls from coming down. Because Grisha, through the power of the Attack Titan and therefore being able to see the memories of future Attack Titans, saw Wall Maria falling. However, the Rhys families, since they are dominated by the will of King Fritz, can't use the Founding Titan's ability to either start war or for any violence whatsoever. And stopping the Titans that are going to kick down the walls would go against King Fritz's will. However, this is where Eren comes in, and it's why we're talking about this. See, this is technically the first thing Eren ever does. All Eldians are connected to the Path. The Path is an extra-dimensional space that exists outside of the confines of space and time. Every Eldian that ever has been and every Eldian that ever will be exists in this plane. But only those with the Founding Titan ability and usually royal blood can control this area. But since Eren has achieved the Founding Titan's ability and broken the royal blood rule, he slides back to Grisha and tells him to murder the Rhys family. Well, except for Rod Rhys. But why did Eren not kill Rod? Well, Rod had a mistress, and that mistress was Historia's mother. And then obviously, if Rod's mistress was Historia's mother, that would make Historia Rod's daughter. But royal families don't like mistresses or half-royal children. So the true reason that Eren forced Grisha to kill every single member of the Rhys family, even though only the holder of the Founding Titan needed to die, was for Historia. You see, Eren knew that if any member of the Rhys family was still alive outside of Rod, that the royal committee would murder Historia's mother and Historia. But since Historia was the only royal child left, Rod would be able to protect her. And just like that, before the rumbling even began, we saw Eren enacting killing the majority to save the minority. Eren is obviously friends with Historia and has plans with her later on. But at the same time, he basically gaslit his father with time travel in order to kill a family filled with children in order to save one woman. Now, after Grisha murders the entire Rhys family except for Rod, the walls fall. But it's at this point that Grisha realizes that Eren wasn't the only person visiting him using the power of the paths. Zeke was also there. And it's at this point that Grisha realized that Eren was in control and apologized to Zeke for being such a terrible father, but also warned Zeke that the only person who's gonna get what they want in this situation is Eren. It's at that point that Grisha, Eren's father, begged his other son to stop Eren. But here's where the time woogity stuff gets a little bit confusing. It's at this point that Grisha returns to Wall Maria. And him and Keith Shaddis, you know, the guy who was head of the Survey Corps and the guy who actually brought Grisha into the walls in the first place, go to look for Grisha's family. But after Grisha finds out that Carla has been devoured by a female Titan and they find Eren together, Grisha realizes that he has to pass off the Titan to Eren. And this is what doesn't stick with me here. See, yes, Technically, Eren has already visited Grisha, which implies that the set of circumstances in the history is already predestined. But hypothetically, if Grisha didn't want Eren to achieve his goals, he shouldn't have made him the next Attack Titan and Founding Titan. But if Grisha was able to make this decision, then that would imply that Eren wouldn't have been able to visit him previously, which thus implies that all set historical events have already happened, meaning that the timeline cannot be changed by Eren. He just becomes an integral part of said timeline. Eren will always go back in time and will always become the Attack Titan. And so Grisha pulls Eren out into the woods and gives him the key to the basement. He then injects him with Titan spinal fluid and has Eren's pure Titan form devour him. And just like that, Eren's story has begun. Oh, actually, Eren's story began before that. I'm sorry, I'm dumb. Before the wall even fell, Eren once accompanied his father on a house trip to the Ackermans. His father being a doctor, he had to do house trips to multiple different people. However, when they got to the house, they realized both of Mikasa's parents had been murdered and Mikasa herself was missing. Grisha told Eren to wait at the house while he fetched the military police, but Eren decided to track down the robbers himself, at 9 years old. And when he found the robbers, he killed 2 of them, stabbing them to death with a flurry of blows. However, after Eren killed the second robber, he let his guard down, only to find out that there was a third robber. And as the third robber picked him up by the neck and began to strangle him, he yelled at Mikasa to kill the robber, otherwise he was going to kill them both. And for some reason, this made Mikasa lose all inhibition and she murdered that robber. But why would Mikasa lose all inhibition when Eren told her to do something? Well, the Ackermans were actually technically an accident. They were the accidental spin-out of science projects of using Eldians and Titan science. Essentially, the Eldian Empire was trying to find a perfect right-hand man to protect the king. And by doing studies with subjects of Ymir and Titan science, they eventually kind of created the Ackermans. But here's the thing, they themselves are not subjects of Ymir, and therefore aren't true Eldians. However, just like Eldians, they can be bossed around, specifically by the royal bloodline. And Eren claims that when he yelled at her on that day, Mikasa mistook him for royalty and therefore flew to protect him and awoke her powers. This is why she was always protecting Eren and also so good at combat. But there's more to the situation than meets the eye. In this situation, not only did a 9-year-old hunt down 3 full-grown robbers and kill 2 of them with absolutely no remorse, he also ordered somebody else, arguably an innocent little girl, to murder somebody with no remorse. This moment wasn't put in as useless exposition to show how Eren and Mikasa came to live together. It's to show you that Eren has always been exactly who he is. He was a 9-year-old who stabbed 2 men to death and then had a little girl stab another man to death. And the only thing he was regretful of was making his father upset. The fact that he felt no shame or anger or remorse in that situation points to the fact that Eren has always been a sociopath. Listen, I'm not saying that Eren wasn't justified in killing those robbers. It's just how he dealt with the aftermath of the situation, which points us in the direction that his personality never changes, his scope just broadens. Well, what do I mean by that? Think of Mikasa as Paradise Island. Eren hunted down and killed those robbers because they threatened Paradise Island, with no remorse and no forgiveness. Sure, obviously this is an event on a much smaller scale, but you can't help but see the similarities. And this was before he inherited either the Attack or Founding Titan. Smash cut to the falling of Wall Maria. We all know the scene. A giant Titan appears above the wall and kicks a hole in Wall Maria. Debris lands on Eren's house and it crushes his mother Carla. Han shows up with the intention to fight the Titan that's enclosing on Eren's house, but kinda chickens out and decides to just take Mikasa and Eren and run away. And as Eren and Mikasa board a boat that's going to take them away from this Titan-infested city, they see the armored Titan run through the gate of Shingachina district. And it's at this moment that he vows to kill every Titan in existence. Immediately, the second that the scope of danger broadens, Eren realizes that he needs to murder every single Titan, because every single Titan now threatens those that he loves. And once again, you could say this is a fair reaction to the circumstance. The Titans just murdered his mother, they put Armin and Mikasa in danger, and he always wanted to join the Scout Corps anyways. So the fact that he would react to this situation wanting to murder every single Titan is justified to a degree. Once again, I'm just bringing up this point to establish a narrative for Eren. When the scope broadens, he overreacts. Eren and Mikasa and Armin then work on a farm for 2 years until they're old enough to join the military. And once they are old enough to join the military, they all do, where Eren tells everybody that he's joined the military to kill Titans with the Scout Corps. You see, to bring real life into this, joining the military to kill somebody is not the correct reason to join the military. This is what propaganda wants you to join the military military for. But you don't join the military to massacre the Taliban or something like that. The real reason you should join any military is to protect those being plighted by the opposition force. Obviously, killing does come intrinsically with that, but if the only reason you join a military force is to murder other people, well, red flag. It's justification of sociopathic desires. However, while Eren is training to join the Scout Corps, an interesting thing happens. Essentially, all of the trainees are being trained in hand-to-hand combat, and it's at this point that Eren tells Reiner that he believes hand-to-hand combat is useless, and that if you were to come into conflict with another human, it would be better to run away than engage. This is where a lot of people make the justification that Eren hasn't always wanted to kill humans, and it's not a crazy leap to make, and therefore people justify that Eren has changed over the course of the show. You see, while Eren was training to join the Scout Corps, humans weren't the enemy. Titans were, and you're not going to fight Titans with your fists. What he was training for religiously was trying to figure out his ODM gear, because that's what would allow him to kill his current enemy, the Titans. If anything, this shows us that Eren prioritizes killing his current enemy efficiently, and therefore wouldn't need something like hand-to-hand combat because humans weren't the current enemy. Eren then goes on to graduate top 10 from his graduate class, and him, Coney, and Sasha are sent to clean the cannons on top of a wall. And this is where the Colossal Titan reappears. Eren attempts to take on the Colossal Titan by himself, with the rest of his teammates stand in horror. But just as he's about to slice the Colossal Titan's nape, it disappears into thin air. This is because, as you and I know, the Colossal Titan is Berthold. Here's my thing. Eren has the ability to talk to all subjects of Ymir across all time. This is how he was able to talk to Grisha. This means, by the way, at literally any point, Eren could slide back in time to any subject of Ymir, like Hanji, or Erwin, or Armin, or himself even maybe, and reveal the identity of the Colossal and Armor Titan, stopping thousands, if not tens of thousands of murders from happening on Paradise Island. He could even go back and tell Erwin to look in Grisha Jaeger's basement using a certain key, identify the threat of the Titan significantly earlier, find the traitors in Annie, Berthold, and Reiner, and essentially save Paradise Island. Keep that for later. So obviously the Colossal Titan disappears, and then Eren and Mikasa are sent out on their first real mission, Beyond the Wall, where they see Thomas Wagner, their friend, get devoured. This throws Eren into a rage, and he tries to kill the Titan that devoured Thomas, but Eren himself also gets eaten. However, it isn't until he remembers that he wants to kill every single Titan on Earth that he finally does his first Attack Titan transformation, and then he proceeds to kill a bunch of Titans. But why was Eren so good as an Attack Titan off the rip? Well, when Grisha handed off the Attack and Founding Titan to Eren, he said, "Our memories will help you learn its powers quickly," meaning that the ability of the Attack Titan to see the memories of future inheritors would allow Eren to figure out how to use the Attack Titan almost instinctually. And this is exactly what happens. And this is also why Eren instinctually bites his hand when he wakes up after this Attack Titan rampage, and he gets a cannonball fired at him by the military force who think he's going to be a danger. This allows him to partially transform into a Titan and catch the cannonball. Fortunately for Armin, Mikasa, and Eren, Commander Pixis shows up and interrogates Eren personally. And it's at this point that they decide that they're going to use Eren's ability to take back the Trost district. However, Eren knocks himself out during this mission, after attacking Mikasa, mind you. But Armin manages to wake up Eren by stabbing the Attack Titan in the nape and piercing Eren's body. Armin tries to bring Eren back to his good and conscious side by reminding him that him and Armin are supposed to see the world. But all this does is remind Eren why he wanted to join the Survey Corps, and that was kill all Titans. In this moment, we see a differentiation that even Armin himself doesn't quite understand. You see, Armin sees Eren as somebody who wants to see the world with him. And while at one point that might have been Eren's original motivation to join the Survey Corps, the broadening of his scope to the Titans now attacking Paradise Island has changed his motivation. And now his motivation is to kill all Titans, aka eliminate all threats. Smash cut to the female Titan arc. It's a long, very horse-ridey arc, so we're gonna skip the majority of the plot here. But basically now Eren is with Levi and Erwin's squad. He's being researched by Hanji to figure out Titan shifter powers, and the squad is out on the 57th expedition outside the walls. However, while on this expedition, they are attacked by an abnormal, and that abnormal is the female Titan, who Erwin believes he captures in a trap, but Annie is able to unshift from her Titan form and escape. Eren, being arguably the most important asset, is told to retreat while the rest of his team members go to fight the female Titan. And since earlier Eren had accidentally shifted into a Titan and the rest of his his team trusted him, that he wasn't a threat. He trusted them to fight the female Titan. Wrong idea, they all got murdered. But this flew Eren into a rage, and so he decided to fight the female Titan himself, disregarding the fact that Hanji, Levi, and Erwin needed him for research. But also, fair decision, he just watched a bunch of his acquaintances get murdered, and Eren completely blows it, against the crippled Annie at that. However, thank God for Ackermans, because Mikasa and Levi come to save him. But once again, the scout regiment gets to return with their tails between their legs. However, when they return, Erwin pulls Armin and Eren into a room and explains to them how they're going to capture the female Titan, who Armin has deduced is Annie Leonhardt. This catches Eren off guard, and he's angry at the accusation that one of his friends could be a traitor. So when they're on the mission to trap Annie, Eren actually pleads with Annie to admit that it's not her. But Annie can't do this because, well, it is her. But also because Eren brings it up, he kind of blows the whole "we're gonna catch her discreetly" thing, and she transforms. This forces Eren and Armin into a tunnel, and Eren is supposed to transform to fight her, but he can't because Annie is his friend. This is truly the first real circumstance where we've seen Eren completely blinded by friendship, but it's a long existing theme throughout his entire character arc. Like I said, Eren identifies a threat and then overcompensates, and those threats are to his friends and families and loved ones. So making an enemy out of a friend is very difficult for Eren, because in his ideology, that's who he's supposed to be protecting. And it's not until Eren has done a lot of mental rewiring that he reminds himself that Annie has taken a lot of lives as the female Titan, and he made a vow once again to kill all Titans. This is the first real circumstance where we see Eren dealing with his own ideology, and the outcome he chose is actually very important. See, Eren had to make a decision: protect my friend in Annie or eliminate all Titans. And the side that won was eliminate all Titans. This sets the precedent for Eren actively working against what he believes are his friends in order to achieve the greater goal of extermination of all threats. And the fact that Eren has already had this internal struggle and decided that killing the Titans is more important than protecting his friends really helps him in a later arc, specifically the next arc, Clash of the Titans arc. When on top of Walrose, after the Utgard Castle, I guess, debacle with Ymir, Eren is talking to Reiner and Bertholdt, when Reiner reveals to Eren that they are the Colossal and Armored Titans respectively, and that they will continue to breach the walls unless Eren comes back to their hometown with them. Eren shrugs this off as a weird joke for a little bit until Reiner pulls back his bandages and shows Eren that they're already regenerating. Mikasa then goes to kill both of them, but they transform and snag Eren, who transforms to get out of the grasp of Reiner. But Eren's transformation isn't immediate. He has to see both Reiner and Bertholdt transform before he even begins to think about transforming himself. After seeing them transform, he becomes disgusted with them in the same way that he became disgusted with Annie after he got over his moral conundrum. This goes to absolutely solidify that Eren has gone to the kill all Titans ideology way more than he goes to the save my friends ideology. His transformation in subsequent battle took him way less mental effort than it did with Annie, which shows that he's strengthening in his ideology. Eren uses the fighting skills taught to him by Annie and Reiner to fight Reiner and basically win. On top of this, the sheer rage he was feeling at both Bertholdt and Reiner basically gave him superhuman Titan strength. However, Bertholdt rolls off the top of the wall as the Colossal Titan, and then both Ymir and Eren get taken hostage. But this doesn't last for long. Reiner and Bertholdt trying to offer Ymir the ability to save their loved ones by joining them. It's at this point that Eren realizes that Reiner has a split personality, that way he can distance himself from the guilt that he feels for killing everybody on Paradise. However, both Bertholdt and Reiner are being pursued by all of the Scouts Corps that were with Eren, including Mikasa. And when Reiner is attacked by a bunch of pure Titans and therefore has to stop covering Ymir and Eren, Mikasa swoops in. Eren is then cut free from his captors. However, as they're running away on horses, they get knocked off of their horse. And Mikasa and Eren are horrified to see as the Titan that ate Carla, Eren's mother, is approaching them. However, this Titan is somebody important. This is when Hans, the man who saved Eren and Mikasa when they were both young after Wall Maria fell, steps in to save the day and gets eaten because Eren can't transform into a Titan. He was too injured. And after the Smiling Titan eats Hans, it then closes the distance between it and Eren and Mikasa. Eren, out of desperation, punches the Smiling Titan and screams. However, little did he know that the Smiling Titan is Dina Fritz, Grisha, Eren's father's original wife and Zeke's mother, and also the reason that Zeke is royal blood. And by punching Dina Fritz's hand, he now has connection to royal blood, which allows him to use the Founding Titan, and therefore all of the pure Titans around that were attacking Eren's teammates now attack the Smiling Titan and devour her. Now the real question becomes, was Dina Fritz coming after Eren because he had the Founding Titan, and therefore subconsciously as a pure Titan, she was trying to reestablish the founding Titan within the royal family? Or was it pure happenstance? We literally don't know. And once Eren and Mikasa are saved, John tells him that whether or not saving him would be worth it is dependent on what Eren does in the future. And it's at that point that Eren vows to never hesitate again, thus solidifying the ideology that regardless of the circumstance, Eren will do whatever necessary to save those he finds important. Smash cut to the royal government arc. There's a lot of things we don't need to talk about. All we need to talk about is the fact that Erwin's plan was for Historia to take the throne. Erwin, knowing that the Rhys's were the true royal family and that Historia was on their side, thought having Historia as queen would be perfect for Paradis. But in order to accomplish this, they would have to lure out her father, Rod Rhys, the only other living member of the Rhys family. So they hand over Eren and Historia as a trap to lure him out. However, both the Reeves Company and the military police see through this trap and take the blades that Eren was supposed to use to cut himself and activate the attack Titan. And bing bang boom, just like that, Eren wakes up gagged and bound in a room he doesn't recognize. Sounds like my weekends in college. But he wakes up and he sees Historia is free, and in fact she's walking towards him, and this makes him happy because at least she's fine. Only problem is she's now on Rod's side. But unlike me in college, Eren starts to recognize the room he's woken up in, and it's at this point that Rod recommends that he and Historia lay their hands on his back, specifically the memories of Grisha, his father, eating the entire Rhys family. Eren is heartbroken over these memories, but more specifically over the memory that Frida had the ability to stop the walls from falling and didn't. It's at this point that Eren begs Historia to eat him and use the power of the founding Titan to stop all the suffering and kill all the Titans. We see here that Eren does not care about his life. He only truly cares about his goal, and that goal is the protection of those he loves, at least as long as that everybody else is an enemy he identifies. Historia, moved by his words, actually incapacitates Rod and frees Eren. It's at this point that Rod turns into a Titan, but Eren begs with Historia to let her father eat him, because Eren believes that if the royal family gets the founding Titan ability back, they can finally defeat all of the Titans. And technically, they could. With the founding Titan, the royal family could just kill every single Titan in a heartbeat, or they could permanently change their anatomy to make them infertile like Zeke wants. However, Historia says no. She says, even if I am an enemy of humanity, I am still your friend, which is both an interesting line and a very interesting philosophy. Historia has essentially just now stated that her friends are more important than the whole of humanity to her. And technically this was the right decision in the moment, because if the founding Titan had gone back to the royal family, they would have been bound by King Fritz's will. But Historia didn't know this. She simply was choosing to abandon humanity to save Eren, which is a sentimentality that we see in Eren, which is most likely why he chose to spare Rod Rhys, in order to make sure that the like-minded to him would be around when he enacted his plan. Levi's squad then pulls up and saves Historia, and Eren apologizes for being useless. It's at this point that he grabs a vial that says armor on it and injects it into himself to save the cave from collapsing and killing everybody. He builds a bunch of armor spikes and it holds the cave from falling because Rod Rhys's Titan transformation is so large that it's collapsing the cave. Oh wait, I lied. Actually, Historia did know about the brainwashing. I'm dumb. And then Eren and Levi's squad have to kill Rod Rhys's Titan form by shoving a bunch of black powder in its mouth and igniting it and then cutting away its nape. And then we jump to the return to the Shinganshina arc. There's a bunch of reminiscing and all of that. They're all eating dinner. They get into a fight. They have to hold Sasha back from eating everything. God, do you guys remember Sasha? She was cool, wasn't she? Tell you no. Yeah, Cody, if there's any way you could edit like a 360 no scope with an intervention in Call of Duty to like a quick cut of Sasha just like bleeding, that would be hilarious.
Oh! Oh my god! Oh! Are they not recording? Are you recording, Crickshaw?
But regardless of what happens in this relatively trivial arc, Armin, Mikasa, and Eren are eating dinner. And Mikasa is pondering whether or not after they take Wall Maria back, if they'll be able to return to a simple and easy life. To which Eren responds, probably not, and that's why we need to make them pay. Them being every single Titan. And now probably Reiner and Bertholdt, even though Eren doesn't really understand where Reiner and Bertholdt come from. At this point, Eren has established she's no longer interested in returning to a peaceful life. Eren doesn't even understand at this point that he has a certain amount of years as a Titan shifter left with his life. He just wants revenge. Then Levi's squad and Eren go to Wall Maria and they reseal it, and then everything's happy, right? Now, Reiner, a group of pure titans, and the Beast Titan all appear. Eren then fights Reiner with his new hardened fists, and Hanji blinds Reiner with their new thunder spears. And then they blow open Reiner's nape and supposedly kill him. God, I'm sure he wished that happened. But there's always somebody there to protect Reiner, and that's Bertholdt, who just walks up with his regular form, and Armin pleads with him not to transform, because his transformation is quite literally a nuke. Bertholdt doesn't listen, transforms, and basically nukes the Shinganshina district. Eren uses his Titan form to go protect his comrades, and then grabs onto Bertholdt's leg like a child. Bertholdt then kicks him into Wall Maria at a very high speed and knocks him out. Armin then creates the plan of frying himself like a piece of chicken, and is only saved after he gets an injection of Titan serum. Oh, and by the way, this whole time Eren was fighting the Beast Titan, and we got the "My soldiers rage" speech, and then Eren died. But the fact that Eren rode so hard for Armin when it came down to who's gonna receive this last syringe of Titan serum shows us a little bit about Eren's backstory. You see, obviously anybody would ride for their friends. It's just what the logical person would do. But when it came down to the commander of the Scout Corps versus just your friend who's kind of smart, a logical person would have chosen Erwin. No, I'm not using this as a moment to judge Eren. I'm using it as an opportunity to show you that he's largely driven by emotion. And obviously it's hard to not be driven by emotion in circumstances such as these. But in a completely non-biased situation, about 99 out of 100 people would choose Erwin. But before any of this even happened, Zeke, as the Beast Titan, was able to tell Eren that he's been enslaved by Grisha's ideology, which is an interesting, albeit false, idea. You see, Eren wasn't created by Grisha, ideologically that is. In fact, it's Grisha who was a hostage of Eren's ideology. Remember, as the Attack Titan, and only the Attack Titan, Grisha could see the memories of his future inheritors, aka Eren. But the Attack Titan can only see forward, not backwards. So Eren couldn't see his father's memories until he came in contact with royal blood that allowed him to access the paths and therefore all time and space. Grisha was afraid of the future he was creating with Eren. He begged Zeke to stop Eren. And if we take what I said about the timeline being fixed as canon, Grisha was a slave to passing the Attack Titan over to Eren. Eren is not a hostage of Grisha's ideologies. It is very much the other way around. But since we're talking about Grisha, he's very important in this next part. You see, the next thing that happens after Armin wakes up after inheriting the Colossal Titan is that they go to Grisha's basement. And in Grisha's basement, they find things like photographs and evidence that humanity is not dead outside of the walls. And Eren actually confirms this by looking into Grisha's memories and seeing him when he was in Marley. I keep wanting to call it Eldia. However, after they go to Grisha's basement, Eren and Mikasa are arrested for going against the orders of the Survey Corps. And it's while in this prison that Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are able to confirm that there is people outside of the walls with Grisha's books and Eren's memories. And then, with a nightmare, Eren realizes that the Smiling Titan was actually Dina Fritz. And he realizes the only reason he was able to control his Founding Titan abilities is because he was in contact with a pure Titan of royal blood. However, he doesn't tell anybody this because he doesn't want Historia turned into a Titan, because hypothetically, if they did turn Historia into a Titan, he could then come into contact with her and then use the Founding Titan's ability just naturally. Which, by the way, if they did that, he would be able to end the war, basically. The war against Titans. So once again, he is prioritizing the safety of his friends over humanity. Obviously, turning Historia into a Titan is not lovely, but having control over the Founding Titan ability is basically exactly what Zeke is trying to do and what Eren is also trying to do, and he could achieve it through this meme. But something's starting to happen with Eren. More and more, he's starting to get the memories of Grisha, and as he gets more and more of these memories, he's starting to see the outside world as it is, largely discriminatory to Eldians. In fact, he's already seen the grisly murder of his Aunt Faye, Grisha's sister. However, while he's receiving this memory, Historia is putting medals around the necks of everybody who survived the secondary attack on Wall Maria. And as Historia comes into contact with Eren, he receives the memories of Grisha on the night he murdered the Reese family. But this time it's different because he also receives the memory of Grisha receiving a memory from Eren. So it's kind of confusing. The anime also completely skips over this. Essentially, Eren sees Grisha seeing Eren's future, and therefore Eren sees Eren's future, which shows Eren in 4 years' time he will use the Colossal Titans hiding in the walls to activate the rumbling and kill 80% of the world's population. And Eren is horrified by this because technically his scope hadn't broadened yet. You see, Eren was completely comfortable with killing every single Titan, even after he figured out what Titans were, because they were in the crosshairs. Eren saw what he was going to do before his scope had broadened to realize in his mind that the rest of the world were the enemies, and he was horrified by it. However, Eren has a year until they get to the ocean of repopulating Shinganshina. And over this year, Eren's memories from Grisha begin to flow in. So when they get to the ocean, he states that on the other side of the ocean, there isn't freedom, there's enemies. And just like that, Eren's scope has once again widened. He claims, if I kill everybody else on the other side of this ocean, will we finally be free? Once again, riding with the philosophy that humanity is less important than the lives of those he loves. For the next 3 years, Marley sends 32 ships to Paradise Island, all scouting ships. Every single one is destroyed by Eren and Armin. And the next time we see Eren and Armin, they're at a shooting range, and Armin is wondering whether they can figure things out diplomatically. Eren brushes Armin off and says this will never happen and that Paradise Island has to take the first blow. Over time, Eren begins to meet with Yelena and Flock, who in the manga he actually tells them so that the reader knows that he's gonna pretend to go along with Zeke's plan. Yeah, in the manga, you knew the whole time. And then once he gets Zeke's trust, he's gonna switch up on Zeke and kill everybody in Marley. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Like Rainer? Or Bertholdt, people that Eren had called hypocrites and monsters. And then eventually Eren and Armin and Mikasa and Connie and Sasha all go to Marley. And while everybody is super excited to see the outside world, Eren is stoic. He only comments on the things he recognizes from his father's memories. And he laments about the idea of having to kill everybody there. It's at this point that he thinks about Karl Fritz, who wanted to send the Eldians to Paradise Island so they could die out. He acknowledges that this would not only cause less deaths, it would also eradicate Titans, but he just can't bring himself to do that. It's at this point that Eren sees the little boy getting beat up by some bullies. He saves the little boy, but knows he shouldn't, because inevitably Eren is going to be the thing that kills that little boy. He then returns the little boy to his village and tearfully says goodbye and I'm sorry. You see, all of this to me just makes me angrier at Eren. Even when he told his plan to Historia said you shouldn't do this. She told him that the majority of people have nothing to do with the aggression on Paradise Island. And clearly he understood that a lot of the people on Marley didn't deserve to die, specifically that boy. And yet the broadening of his scope and his overcompensation led him to genocide. He even goes so far as to tell Mikasa that he sees a lot of similarities between their family and that boy's family when the Wall Maria came down. Eren fully understands what he is about to do to these people because it's been done to him. To this point that Eren cuts off one of his legs, gouges out one of his eyes, and tricks Zeke into thinking that he's all good for the euthanasia plan. And then the night of the Tiber festival happens. And Eren, who's disguised as a hurt Marleyan soldier, has Falco bring Reiner to him. It's at this point that Eren explains to Reiner that he has met both good and bad people in Marley, and therefore he understands the dilemma that Reiner went through as he brought down the walls. And it's at this point that Reiner asks Eren to kill him. You see, Reiner is supposed to act as the logical foil to Eren. Reiner is a bad person who has done very bad things, but he deals with an insane amount of guilt and a split personality from what he's done. Reiner remembers every person he's killed. He has to push it down into a separate personality in order to function, and he's now trying to undo what he did in Paradise. Reiner is supposed to represent what Eren could and should be. That is, after Eren does what he does to the Tiber Festival, which is initiate an attack on Marley that would lead to the rumbling and the destruction of Marley. But Eren, even though he acknowledges there's good and bad people in Marley, doesn't feel the level of guilt that Reiner does, because once again, he's broadened his scope and he's a sociopath. And it's at this point that Eren uses the Jaw Titan to crack Lar Tiber's crystallized body like a walnut and inherit the Warhammer Titan. And now Eren has 3 Titans, the Attack, the Founding, and the Warhammer. However, this attack wasn't planned for Paradise Island. Eren enacted it with very little heads up to Paradise. And because of this, people like Levi and Mikasa and Hanj had to scramble to back him up. And because of his actions, Sasha died.
Oh my god!
But when Eren found out she died, he didn't seem to care. And when he asked about her final words and he heard they were meat, he laughed. You see, I believe this is the true problem with Eren. You see, as your scope broadens too far, you begin to lose track of what you initially cared about. It's a bit like Naruto saying that all of Konoha is his family, and that's why he can't spend time with his family. Now that Eren is focused on saving the entirety of Paradise, the individual people of Paradise no longer mean anything to him. While technically his motivations and his core personality have never changed, he's lost track of who he used to be. And him no longer caring about individuals, most importantly his friends, is no more apparent than in the next couple of episodes. He yells at Hanji when she visits him in his cell. He tells Mikasa that the only reason she's ever felt inclined to protect him is her blood, on top of telling her that he hates her. And then he beats the shit out of Armin. And then Marley counterattacks with Reiner and the Jaw Titan and a bunch of their soldiers. And Eren has to get to Zeke in order to activate the Founding Titan's powers. And after he gets decapitated by Gabby, Zeke catches his head and they enter the paths. And now that they're together in the paths or the coordinate, they can activate the Founding Titan's ability. Eren then sees a little girl, and that little girl is Ymir Fritz. Zeke tells Eren to take control of Ymir in order to activate the plan to euthanize all Eldians. But Zeke has put fake chains on himself that makes it look as though Karl Fritz's vow is stopping him from using Ymir's power. And because of this, Eren reveals to Zeke that he was never going to go along with the euthanasia plan. But the chains are fake, and Zeke actually tells him that he found a way around the vow, and he puts the chains on Eren because Ymir will only listen to people with royal blood. Zeke then takes Eren through Grisha Jaeger's life and shows all the times where Grisha was brainwashing both him and Eren. But this is actually when Eren takes control of the situation and tells Grisha to kill the Reese family. He then encourages Ymir to break out from under the royal family, and finally, people with non-royal blood can command her, like Eren. And it's at this point that Eren activates the rumbling. You see, Eren was able to work against impossible odds to get the rumbling going, but the activation of the rumbling is truly his final turning point. A point at which even the most oblivious watcher of the show or reader of the manga realizes that Eren is the bad guy. But it's not a surprise, and it shouldn't be, because this is who Eren has always been and always will be. I hate to quote the prequels here, but only a Sith deals in absolutes. When you play the game of absolute revenge and absolute annihilation of your enemies, you yourself are the bad guy. In fact, this is largely the plot of Naruto, specifically the pain arc. Naruto is trying to close a cycle of hate. Naruto acknowledges the pain that Nagato has inflicted onto him and forgives him for it in order to break an endless cycle. Yes, obviously, Marley is a very bad place. It is quite literally pre-World War II Germany. But not every German in World War II Germany was a Nazi. Sure, I'm sure there was plenty of sympathizers, but there was also children and old people, people who disagreed with the government. Oh, and the Jews that they were persecuting, which, by the way, all of the Eldians in Marley will most likely die. This would be like if in the real world, the Jews who were being prosecuted during World War II decided enough of all this and wiped out all of Germany. You could even say that they would wipe out Germany's allied forces like Italy and Japan. But on the way to Japan from Germany, they also wipe out Russia and Kazakhstan and Mongolia, China and India, only leaving the countries that fought with them or the country that they come from. So I guess technically they wouldn't touch Russia. But the thing is, in Eren's case, there's quite literally only one nation on Paradise's side. So all that will be left is Paradise in one nation. I feel like I need to say this because some people misconstrue this. Eren doesn't care about Paradise Island. He never cared about Mikasa. He never cared about Armin. Anytime Mikasa or Armin ever tried to reach out to Eren, he was reawoken by the ideology of murdering every Titan, not their friendship. Eren is driven by anger and hatred, not love. Paradise Island being safe doesn't matter if the rest of the world is in flames. Obviously, what was done to Paradise Island is unforgivable, and Marley should pay for that. The people who sent Reiner and Bertholdt themselves. Every Eldian should be freed from internment camps. Marley should be stripped of its military. All things we did to Germany after World War II. I cannot believe I'm saying this, and I cannot believe how many times I have had to say this. Genocide is never the answer. Eren is the antagonist. He is not justified. And agree with that or don't, but never try to say that what happened with Eren in the final season is a surprise or different from how he's always been. His enemies just got bigger. And that's it. Everything that you need to know about Eren Yeager. Please send this to your worst friend. And while you're at it, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Not saying I'm looking forward to the end of this show, but I'm looking forward to the end of this show.